Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Silver Tears Tarot. And of course, a warm welcome to those of you who are joining us for the first time. We're going to get in with another question that came from my inbox. And this one, it's relevant to the third party energy that we've been hearing about, that we've been seeing. And remember, there could be multiple sources of third party energy. Third party energy is simply energy that significantly impacts you and doesn't come from one of you. So it can be someone in their household, someone in their family, it could be a workplace type situation. Basically, we're going to take a look at interaction about you with regard to that third party, because that's really the kind of the question that's been coming up. And one of the questions that's been coming up is, have they been warned to stay away from me? Have they been told to stay away from me? That sort of thing. So we're going to look into that. Of course, it is a general reading. As always, it's going to be a general reading for this collective, so it's not going to resonate with everybody. But if it does resonate with you, then I would encourage you to subscribe, maybe take a look at some of the other videos, because they are all very much connected. And if you watch for a while, if you've been watching for a while, then for sure you'll have noticed how the videos are very much connected. The messages are very much connected. So as usual, I like to start out with an energetic backdrop. Kind of gives us an idea of how to think about the rest of the messages that come out. So just kind of starting with where we are right now. Energetic backdrop for today. We've got the Seven of Vessels in reverse. So it's water energy. Vessels in this deck is water energy. And I'll put the card up so that you can see it here. It's about choices, and it's about having different choices but not knowing what the difference between them is. So I have a bunch of options here in front of me. I don't know which road makes the most sense. They all kind of maybe don't look the same, but they don't look different enough for me to understand the implications of taking one of these paths. That's really what's happening with this card in the reverse. That's the energy that's coming off of it. So this feels a little bit like it's more strongly their energy, but it is also shared. So there may be an element of you seeing some options in front of you and realizing that you just you don't always know what the right, I mean, it's not always clear why you should do something that is an option that's in front of you, or even, again, what's mutually exclusive, what can be done together. The best source of this is going to be your higher power, your higher self, and to some degree your intuition. However, there's not necessarily a solid connection with that today for both of you. May differ. So, for example, you may have a stronger connection with your higher self right now than your person does. And in some cases, for sure, that's true. But in other cases, it is going to be not quite the case. You have a strong manifestation energy, not just as individuals, but between you today. So I would put that out there. It's with mixed up with that Seven of Vessels. This is the shaman, so it's like the magician. Mixed with that Seven of Vessels in reverse, it may be energy that is quite capable but doesn't know where to go. But we've got this Three of Cups. So one of the things, this is third party energy. It is, again, sometimes we've made comments that say it's like the third and the fourth and the fifth party because there's more than one thing going on. But it all counts as third party energy. It is really anything that, like I said, really impacts your union, your relationship, and it isn't coming from you. So in a lot of cases, there are multiple sources of that third party energy. Some of them have a spouse or a long-term relationship, or maybe even for a lot of you it's an ex who hasn't completely faded away, still a bit of a hold on them, still something going on there. But for others of you, it's a family member, where there's a lot of control happening, kind of like we've been seeing the devil in reverse a lot, and it's been about them sort of trying to break free from a values perspective on a very basic level, but in a very 3D sort of way, in a physical realm way. They're not really breaking free. They're still very much under that control, even though their mind is starting to break away. And truthfully, yes, that does need to happen first. They need to be able to figure out how to break away emotionally and mentally, potentially before they can even make that break physically. It depends. Everyone's situation is going to look a little bit different. Um, Okay, let's dig a little bit more into today's emotional backdrop. We have Page of Swords. So this is a transformative page. Transformative, communicative. We knew in July there might be some communication, and some of it might even be meaningful with this. But with the problem that I'm seeing here, we've got a Queen of Cups here in reverse. Page of Swords in the upright means that they are in some cases being able to feel like this newness energy. It's almost a springtime energy, but if you look at this, that's not a springtime sort of picture. There's a lot of growth there that isn't brand new growth. That's more like summer, or even later in the season. um, but it's there's, with this Queen of Cups, there is a feeling of, even though there's this overgrown springtime sense of needing to make a transformation, it's not necessarily ready to happen. So in some cases, your person has been making excuses not to reach out to you, not to contact you, but they would very much like to be in communication. So there's a lot of conflict within them. And we've seen that in these readings. But with the Queen of Cups here in reverse, it is pretty direct confirmation that they have not made the growth necessary that they're going to need in order to have a good conversation with you or a good relationship with you. And we've seen this throughout the readings as well. Something that's been coming out for us is this Judgment card. And I think it came out in one of the extendeds as well as yesterday's reading. And it was coming out feeling very much like this. So this is the internal reconciliation for your person. And what I'm feeling here is that there's a lot of reconciliation that they have not yet been able to do. They've not yet been able to accomplish. I'm not going to say they haven't been doing any reconciliation, but what I would say is, I guess there's more that needs to be done there, and that really is their energy that I'm feeling there. That one's not a shared energy. A lot of this has kind of morphed into energy that's around them. There is something. So here's something shared. Now that we look at it, there is a shared feeling of a desire to communicate, a freshness with that communication, and a willingness to try something new. You guys are seeing each other in your dreams a lot. And the thing is, it's mutual now, where a lot of times in the past, if your person's been in your dreams, it hasn't necessarily been quite so mutual. But here it has been. And there are a couple of them early on and then here recently where if you were to have the right conversation, you might freak each other out a little bit with how much those dreams would be similar or perceived as similar. But there's definitely something that has to be let go of here. It's uncomfortably weighing the both of you down. So again, those things I think are both shared energies. So there's something that needs to happen as far as a communication that wants to happen, but there needs to be some degree of letting something go. Otherwise, the communication isn't going to be as fruitful as what you might hope. And I know there are a few of you out there that are having good conversations with your person, but there are also, many more who are not being able quite to achieve that. Either there's no conversation at all and the person has become quiet or has remained quiet, or there are situations where they're really just not being really very receptive. And that goes for people who are in complete separation as well as the people who are in that difficult sort of separation where the separation is more emotional even than you may even be in the same place. So let's go ahead and take a look at the energy around that third party. We definitely see the energy of the third party peeking in here, and just being prevalent throughout today's energy. It's in the backdrop. That's part of why it's shown up. But the question we were getting here is kind of what is that interaction about between them and the third party about you? One or two of you had asked, I guess it was, well, it depends on how you look at the questions, but yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say two of you had specifically asked, what if they've been told about me? Or what have they been warned away? Like, this was a person where there was a work situation and they felt like maybe some of the people in the workplace had warned their person against fraternizing with them too much, or being seen with them too much, that it might not work well for them politically or something to that effect, you know. And so I guess we're asking about that. We're asking if another person had specifically, and I've gotten this question lots of times, did their spouse or significant other say you're no longer able to talk with this person and that's why they suddenly disappeared? Um, so we're going to look into that. What is the interaction between the two of them with regard to you, between your person and the third party with regard to you? Let's see what kind of impressions we can garner here, because this is always it's one of those things that it's tough because there's going to be as many answers as there are people, but it's also we can get a general idea of what's happening there. So we've got the Five of Bows. um this one, this is about, it's about struggle and not wanting to put forth struggle. So interesting, because what we're kind of getting there is that they haven't wanted to have a certain kind of struggle, and it may not even be that they may be using that third party as a bit of an excuse. Okay, so Seven of Pentacles, the third party, and the Sun. The third party is someone that they have felt like they already had enough history with that they have to remain loyal in some way. This is somebody who is a parent to their children, or it's their parent. So there's this sense of allegiance. I'm getting a sense of allegiance. I'm also getting that there was somewhere in here that either used to make them happy or it was supposed to make them happy. And they have invested, okay? So they have invested in whatever is happening with this third party, whether it be a job that that has really, they were really happy to get the job. They have really invested themselves in the job, if it's work related, or it could be they've got a family with this person and that investment is that family, and that it at one point was what they were seeking or thought they were seeking, and they've later since discovered that maybe like we've often seen with that lesson of the Nine of Cups, they went for something that they thought was going to be fantastic, or it looked great on paper, made them happy for a short time, and they realized at some point there was kind of this nagging issue. This is the majority of you, by the way. Have they had some sort of nagging issue that was causing them to feel a little bit emotionally and maybe psychologically separated from this person or this situation. But they were able to sweep it under the rug, as I like to say. They were able to ignore it and to forget about it. But they lost the ability to ignore it when they came in contact with you, and you really sort of shined a very bright light on this. And so all of a sudden now they're in this situation where they've invested fully in something that they did believe made them happy. And it was just easier. That Five of Bows in reverse is like path of least resistance, okay? Seven of Wands in reverse is basically saying this is a lack of confidence and a lack of ability to move forward, and like they don't even know how they would go about extracting themselves from this situation. But so far, I don't see this person having said much about you. Okay, so the Knight of Cups, the interaction may kind of start here, but this is, okay, what I get off of this most strongly, and I feel like it could have taken many forms, but it's pretty specific. The circumstance is specific. You'll see what I mean. So This is the feeling of when they had that soul recognition with you and things kind of first got started with you, got a little bit too excited and a little too verbose, and they said some things that upset somebody. That either it was a spouse who they felt threatened by this. Even so, I get the sense in some cases you weren't being romantic with this person, or you weren't being romantic with this person yet, and they have somebody in their life that got incredibly jealous. And in other cases, it was romance. Um, but the jealousy feels really strong, and it's almost like a mother protecting their child, or a sister protecting their brother, or um, there's something there, or there's something there. And of course, that works also in a working together sense. But yeah, they were really excited about you, and it threatened something, or it created an imbalance somewhere. At work, it could have created a bit of a almost political imbalance, I want to say. Boy, that's an interesting situation. Let's see here. So there is significant change. But what I see from this is more holding back change, fear of change as a result of something they aren't even sure how it will work. There's a lot of consternation and a lot of anxiety. So we've got the moon, fortune's wheel, and nine of swords. Fortune's wheel is like the wheel of fortune in the traditional tarot, perhaps obviously, but I often like to point it out when they're named a little differently. With the nine of swords, this is anxiety. They have anxiety about this. This is egoistic, okay? So this is not somebody warned them so much as, and I'm not saying that they didn't get told to stay away from you or to watch out being too close to you or whatever it was. I'm just saying it has yet to show up here, except for here's the edge of it. The Knight of Cups here, where you were too eager, or they were too eager rather, when they met you. They upset the balance of something or bothered someone, made them jealous. It has created significant anxiety between the two of them. So your person and the boss, your person and the spouse, whatever it is, it's created a lot of anxiety, and that has created part of the reason why they have gone the path of least resistance and stayed away. There's a lot they don't know. There's okay, so the Wheel of Fortune, or the Fortune's Wheel card, is about change that has been brought about by this, but the moon, that's about change that they've been trying to resist, and they don't even really understand the nature of this change, which I suppose makes a fair amount of sense. Because if they did understand it, you know, if they did understand it, I feel like they might have more of a path. So I'm not seeing where this person, maybe it'll come out. We'll see what happens. I don't feel like it's not there. I just haven't seen it. The Sire of Cups, okay, this is more limited emotion from them. This is, and we've seen this phenomenon before. This is more them using this dynamic as an excuse to stay away because it's the path of least resistance. We have the Strength card here. Again, though, it's not really their strength. It's strength that they are using from this place where they've invested themselves. The fact that it used to make them feel happy is completely irrelevant at this point, because that is no longer the case, although it is what cemented them in that place. Whether it is, again, a family, a job, a marriage, a family of their own. But there's that investment that has occurred here, and they are garnering strength from that. The problem is it erodes away as they realize that the connection there isn't very strong. So they're actually seeing it fade away. There's nothing they can do about it. It's like they're standing there powerless to watch it. They have the Death card and the Tower card coming out together with this. So this is, again, talking about a change that they are actually, even though this Death card and the Tower card are in the upright, there's a lot of resistance. Lot of resistance to this energy, and it really just makes them uncomfortable. So This is significant change that's happening with regard to this third party, and it has been precipitated by the energy of your union with this person. And the thing is that in most cases, the union that you have, the bond that you have with this person, far predates whatever this marriage is. Whether it's in this lifetime or not, doesn't matter. There's a soul recognition that's happened here, and it has um, hastened the destruction of something that was falling apart anyway. But again, they were very much holding on to it because they're cemented to it because it's the safety of their values. But as those values start to change and they realize they've never really agreed with something that they were raised with, has to do with that impasse between the two of you. This is something that's very challenging for them to even confront. But man, the death card and the tower card, this is change, this is emotional upheaval, and it has to do with there's a lot that's happening here with this. I understand that it no longer makes them happy, but they're like, they've stuck their head in the sand about it. They've run from you emotionally and in some cases completely ghosted out, have stopped communicating. And as far as this third party relates to you, it is, they just feel again, it's an excuse. I want to dig deeper into this because I feel like it's not telling us anything about what the actual interaction between them was. We get the sense here that there has been some interaction and that it has precipitated a change, but I feel like we need to get in there and get some additional insights and just kind of expand on it, see what else in this message really wants to come out. And this is one of the things that I love about the extendeds when we get in there is we can just keep, if I feel like it and if I feel like the answers are coming out, we could just make the cards go all the way across there with the messages. And I mean, that's the benefit of the extended. And of course the other benefit is there's fewer of you there, which I'm not saying I don't want you there, but what I'm saying is the fewer people there are, the more direct the message tends to be. So but before we go to the extended, I want to take that look at you that we always take. We've got a collective that is very interested in, invested in your own healing, and I will take every advantage to kind of see what that means for you. So in the context of this question really is about what is it that you need to be focused on for your own situation. What do you need to do after all of this, with the energetic backdrop being what it is, with the situation between them and their third party being what it is, and this is the relation to you, which of course we'll get more deeper into when we get to the extended. But what does it mean for you now? We look at this in every reading, and we look deeper into it in the extended most of the time, but not everybody goes to the extended, like I was saying. And so we want to make sure that you, if you're on this channel, you're getting enriching consideration for your own focus out of every single reading. That is, by all accounts, why you're here, is to get that healing, and you guys are invested in that. So you've got the Two of Bows in reverse. Ooh, all right. This is a crossroads, but it's about the impasse. Interesting combination of messages. So Two of Bows is fire energy. It's like the Two of Wands. We see it a lot, referring to this impasse that we were just talking about over here. And so there's this situation where your person has been struggling with their values and trying to get past this impasse that, it's always like difference in age, politics, race, socioeconomic status. Those are my favorite examples to use. But basically, it's been, can your person get past this? Because it's not something that's a problem for everybody, but for whatever reason, it's a problem here. And in some cases, it's a problem because of their third party energy. It's because of their work or your mutual work or their spouse or whatever, their parents, or the way they were raised. In a lot of cases, it is literally just the way they were raised. There's not even a girlfriend or a boyfriend or anything here. There's just the way they were raised is literally the problem. Thing is here that as we look at this, it becomes who. really cares what those third party folks feel about that situation from your standpoint. So, of course, from their standpoint, it matters because they have that investment with them, but you don't. So it feels almost like there's been some sense of you almost catering to that other perspective's point of view, trying to make this a little bit easier for your person with regard to that. At some point in here, your self worth is going to come up over the top and say, hold on. I don't have as much concern about how this other person feels and views an impasse or an issue that really doesn't pertain to them specifically. There comes a point where your perspective on this does change, but it's a crossroads then, because then it's about what do you do with that information. Exactly, how do you address that? So let's see what else. That's interesting because it's not an indignant sort of thing. It's much more just a realization that, wait a minute, it really doesn't matter how this other person views this. Now, it does maybe matter to you how your person views it, but doesn't necessarily matter how the third party that they're dealing with views it. So we've got the Empress card in reverse here. Feels a little bit like jumping off into the deep end and not being too sure about where the bottom is or what's happening. Um, there's more to learn here. So this is the Universe card in reverse. It's like the world in the traditional tarot, and it feels like something is not at the end of a cycle, but not because it hasn't had time to resolve, more just because it hasn't resolved. And you're going to be honest with yourself and say, nope, I've got more here that I need to look at. So there's something that isn't going to be done, and you're going to look at it and you're going to say, I have the opportunity to tie this up in a neat little bow, but I'm going to actually do it right, and I'm going to take my time with it. More of the concept of that crossroads where you have a couple different paths you can take. They're actually both going to get you to the right place, to the same place. Just that one is a slightly longer path that allows you to tie up more loose ends. And that's the one that I think you're finding yourself on. It's not a bad thing. And here with the Eight of Swords in reverse, you're not even in a hurry about it. You're not that concerned about it. So this is something where you're encouraged to, every chance you get, just take a deep breath and move forward at a nice, healthy, happy pace. There's no reason to overtax yourself in any way. You don't need to be moving too quickly. There's not something that, gosh, you're being held back in this sense. There's nothing that you're being really held back from some epiphany that you have to do by a certain time. We've got the Eight of Pentacles that's come up here in reverse. This is about something that you're going to need to work on. A lot of times when it comes up, it's around emotional self-mastery. Not necessarily this time. This is actually something you're going to have to work on. It's like the skill of active listening. I'm not saying that's necessarily the thing that you're going to work on, but it's got that same sort of sense to it, in that it's one of those things that like when you're actively listening, you are listening with your whole body. You're leaning toward the speaker. You're observing them. You're really just absorbing their message, and it's obvious from everyone's perspective. Everyone would be able to look at you and see what it is, that you're not focused on anything else. There's no phone or device or looking off to some other screen. You're not looking at the slide at the front of the room. You're looking at the person who is communicating. It's a very active listening sort of thing, but it's also something that you have to remember to do moment to moment. As you're training yourself to be a better active listener. So the skill that you're working on here may not be active listening, but it's that same sort of concept where you're going to have to work continually to apply yourself. Meditation is useful here because it's another one of those things where you're constantly being aware of, am I doing what I want to be doing? And then kind of acting accordingly. Um, you've got this Five of Pentacles, so you've got stealth healing happening here. It's about the big three, where you've got the fears around rejection, abandonment, and betrayal. And so this is really about things that are fears that are falling away, and it matches nicely with this feeling of, hey, I'm not so concerned about how this other third party person feels in general about things. That's not something that necessarily impacts my life all that much. And all of a sudden, with that, there's something that clicks and there's healing that happens. This is more evidence of healing that happens with the Three of Swords in reverse, but really, that's about pain falling away. It falls away just all of a sudden, almost impossibly quickly. You become ready for some sort of union. So we've got unions coming towards you, as we've seen in previous videos. And if you haven't seen the video yet where we looked at like the what is coming towards you, because it's not, we also have your person, the person's energy is coming towards you and it's on top of you, and you may get communication from them, but you have somebody else heading your direction. There's a strong ability for union here, may or may not be romantic, could be completely platonic. It will be, it will trigger you, and it will have some potential challenges around it, as we know. However, those challenges are things that we've already seen you're going to be able to overcome. You'll be able to turn all of that as energy going into the same direction. So let's see, what do we want of this? It's this one, this one, this one. Okay. In this order. Okay. So the Two of Pentacles. This is around balance in your life. So one of the things that we've seen is that you have a deceptively good-looking balance in a lot of ways. Even on days you think you don't, you still kind of do. And it's not something that, it's not really off-putting, but it is one of the reasons that your person perceives you the way that they do, and they think that you're basically unflappable in ways that you may not feel that you are. So we've got the Five of Swords here. This is you going back and forth. It came out sideways, and I'm just going to leave it there. But it's about you going back and forth about how you about what you're gonna engage, which problems you're going to engage, what's truly important to you. It constitutes a bit of a waste of energy. That's really the worst thing about it, but I would say that is bad enough. Wasting energy, your energy is one of those things that you don't want to do, because you've got so many cool directions to put it. In some cases, opportunities that are still kind of coming out at you. So you have, okay, we want these two. We don't need this one. We've got the Star card, and then we've got the Sire of Wands in reverse. So with the Star card, this is like, it's like a realization that things are going to go in a way that works for you, to the point that you simply just know on some level that you don't need to worry about it. But the Sire of Wands is that constant desire to know when it's going to happen, understand how you can put some controls around it. How can you make it happen more quickly? How can you make this person call you more quickly? You know, it's those kinds of almost intrusive thought type desires to control that you're going to want to try and work past, because those are things that are slowing you down and actually creating friction between you and your this thing that you're moving toward, this destiny that you're moving toward with your person, whether that ends up being reconciliation or reunion or just what it ends up being. It moves along smoothly, but you have to avoid spending your energy on the wrong things and trying to control it, because that pushes it away. That pushes it away. It has the adverse effect, the opposite effect. So we're going to go ahead and get into that extended, look a little bit more deeply at the impact of the energy with your person and the third party energy. We see some pretty significant upheaval happening with that right now. So it feels like there could kind of be a lot to get into. I'm not exactly sure how that reading's going to look right now, but we'll see when we get there. Link is down below if you'd like to follow me there. Otherwise, if this is you, please do subscribe so we can continue to pull those messages together and to be together, because as the people join this collective, the messages really kind of do coalesce and get stronger. Um, so I'll be off in that extended. Otherwise, I'll see you again in tomorrow's message.